Get started. Welcome to podcast number 31. Today I have with me Fartpancakes, Valk, and Syllara. As always, I will let themselves introduce themselves real quick, and then we'll get started. Fartpancakes, start us off.
Hello. Some of you guys may know me as the Whale Guild's Magic Carp, also known as Fartsy, and YDCB is my dad. Next.
Hey guys, my name's Valkyria. I stream here as well. Fresh Legend player 10 minutes ago. And
Pog
my dad is Kamikita and Vinny. And also Platy. I have a lot of those.
and
Derby as
Syllara.
well.
Wait, more dads?
Yeah, they're all my dads.
I see. All right, Syllara.
Hey guys, I'm Syllara, and a lot of you probably see me around in game and probably on official E7 Discord. I do play competitively, of course, not legend. That's a little bit too try hard. I do enjoy helping people learning about the game. I'm also currently a co-founder of a new project called E7 Arena. You guys will probably hear more about it later.
Thank you. Yeah. So we'll definitely hear more stuff about that. And if you guys didn't know, Sky King. And let's get started with the podcast. So we'll start off with, I think, something that we've kind of always talked about in the last few, but then it's always good to kind of bring it back just to see how it's been like now. So how has Bellian, either or, influenced the RTA meta as of now that she's been released for a while and she's about to kind of go away? Let's hear your thoughts on that, guys.
So I guess I'll start with that, right? To give everyone a little bit of a background, the way I play, my play style, right, is I would say very standard with on a scale of 1 to 10 on the speed ratio, I would say I'm like about a 6 to a 7, right? For me, I previously, a lot of the staple draft for standard was like what Stene first pick, right? That was for the longest time the safest first pick in the entire game, right? But after Bellian comes out, like book gets invalidated, right? She also has reach. I definitely seen Stene like just harder and harder to draft each patch, and I've noticed that Landy has become a safer and safer first pick, right? And that was the complete opposite. I would say like 3 to 4 weeks ago. To give you guys a little bit of a background on what I've been doing is I've been recording every single one of my match history, and I've been putting them in a spreadsheet. And one of my dads just takes a look at it and he gives me some drafting tips, right? So I think 4 weeks ago, my win rate first picking Landy in any given game was about 36%. My win rate when first picking Stene was, I think, like 64% or something like that. And now that's completely flipped, right? Post Bellion, my Stene pick rate and win rate's gone down. I think I'm winning like it's like a 50%, but I only first picked her twice, and it went pretty poorly. And now my Landy first pick win rate is about 68%.
Okay. Dang, that actually flipped quite a bit then. Like, at the same time, I guess I'm not surprised that Bellion kind of really crippled Spectre, to be honest. I'm not fully surprised about that part.
Yeah, I would say like the way like Soulburn works, right, is that it gives you a huge power boost in a singular turn, right? So long as you're carrying a book, right?
Mhm.
And what it does is like the fact that a Bellion could possibly get picked in any given game just kind of forces the game to slow down a bit.
Yeah, I think one of the things for me is like, a lot of people would, even like in a normal draft, in the past, you rely on a lot of books and stuff like that, whether it's Aras, Falconer, Clury, Luna, like, sorry, not books, sorry, souls, that doesn't even come from books. And then once that is removed from you, right, you kind of, your playstyle slows down a lot. You have no soul burn for extra damage, ignoring effect resist, extra turns or anything like that anymore, even if it's a normal utilization.
Right. Yeah, I would definitely say that is a case. Like right now, I think before like Steny was a really good pick. I think F10 used to be a really good first pick. Out of all of my drafts that I've tested, F10 first pick yielded probably like the highest win rate. And the
Mhm.
best core of units before that I found was like F10A into one of the supports, right? Even GP to some extent, right? One of the supports, so Amelia or May with a Stenning, May for the strongest like initial 3 core, right?
Mhm.
The way I like to draft is I like to draft the core of a standard DPS, a knight, and a support. And after that, I like to, depending on how the other guy plays, right? I either slam counters to their DPS or I slam like 2 speed contesters, right? On 4 and 5.
Mm.
So I find now the best 3 core to draft is Landy, Crow plus one of the supports. And I think that combo has given me the highest win rate so far.
Okay, that's interesting. What about you, Syllara and Fartpancakes? How's
In
RTA
my
been?
case, um, honestly, Bellian has been kind of really easy for me to deal with. Maybe it's just my playstyle. Um, but I recently, became a cleaver, and I have had no issues cleaving against Bellion with the playstyle that I've been running. I understand that like there are a lot of cleavers out there that use the Pavel Sedom cleave, and that basically, like with the introduction of Bellion, that kind of killed it. But for me, being like a fellow poor person, I don't have a lot of Tegahells, so I've just adapted to the game having to not use Tegahells at all. So she hasn't really been an issue for me to deal with. I just cleaver, no problem. Even if I have to play Bruiser, she hasn't been an issue either because she's so easily countered, in my opinion, since most people are trying to race to use her first. And if they're early picking her, it's really easy to counter when there's like many available counters. You can pick SSB into that. You can pick Rem or Violet, even Rylet. Pick any of these guys, and the game's basically free. And then for the people that have like ML Crow, that is also a pretty good pick, I think. And then in some cases, it would be good to pick a Ravi as well.
Mm.
Um, with the assumption that that they're not running the injury Bellion, but some people build like the speed set or the counter set. Um, but yeah, the counters that I mentioned above has been working really well for me. And out of like my whole match history, I would say like I've only lost to one Bellion ever. Every
Mm.
other Bellion I've gone against, I have not lost against. Just one Bellion beat me because they built like a damage Bellion, and she counter and Elbrus procced and then just like killed my whole cleave comp. So um, that's the one time I can think of that, Bellion was strong against me. Other than that, it's so easy to counterpick her, and like I've even brought like a C-Dom into her before too, not expecting to soul burn, but to like push up my team. So I
Okay.
feel like she's not really oppressive or scary to go against.
Okay. Interesting. Okay, Syllara, have you
Yeah, I think Bellion is a unit that's right up my alley. Like I've been playing different type of playstyle. I think my playstyle would be more of a flexible playstyle. I have a lot of gear, so usually my hero pools are pretty big. Like the I try to gear as many units as possible so people can't really catch me off guard. You're gonna
mhm.
see that random Dizzy, Fire, Tenebria, Fire, Cecilia, Alencia pick coming from me randomly. And to be honest, my playstyle a little bit more on the aggressive side. So I'm able to push the gear quality where I have similar level of gear. I mean, I have similar stats on my units as somebody else who's are basically Emperor tier, same as me, right?
Mhm.
But my speed would be a little bit faster, like 20 speed faster, and my DPS would be a little bit higher. So for example, somebody would run like a 250 crit damage Valiant. I would run like a 300 crit damage. Same thing with the A Ravi. So I always knew how to abuse crowd control units, and and those units are really good against S10. So basically, since I've been playing Dizzy and Fire Tenny, Bellion is basically another unit who's very, very similar, who I know how to really abuse the crowd control ability. At the same time, now if you look at a unit like Bellian, um, Bellian is very good when somebody wants to uh, take it slow because she have a lot of crowd control ability. She has speed down, she have blind, she have injury. She can just really mess you up the more turns that she takes. And my
Mm-hmm.
playstyle generally is a little bit more aggressive and I do a lot more damage. So I'm able to usually kill Bellion before she can lay down a lot of injury, a lot of those crowd control abilities. So for me, Bellion's not really an issue. And then on the Cleave side, I do Cleave Arena as well. I'm
Mm.
able to still run my mage with Tagahel. I just don't use the souls. I can still kill units. I can still use units like um, Politis and stuff to counter her. So no, not really counter like AOL and stuff. And I'm able to dish out enough damage to kill the enemy com before
Mm.
they kill me. So for me, I feel like Bellion is a really good introduction to the game that kind of forces a little bit of a meta change where people
Mm-hmm.
can't really play the same way.
Okay. So I guess in the end, it sounds like from most of you guys that um actually there's an interesting amount of differences. Like for Fartpancakes, she feels like Bellion hasn't influenced her too much because of her playstyle. Hasn't changed nearly as much as, for example, like Valk. Valk saw
Mhm.
a good amount of changes to what he started drafting and what his win rate was for certain units. And then for Syllara, it's just something that was very comfortable. So it's kind of like all around, which is actually nice. Um, while we're on the topic, there is something that I think a lot of people do wonder is we did see that a Ravi is coming up in the Mystics.
Mhm.
Between the two, because right now Bellion has her own usage. A Ravi is also currently very good in the meta. What are your thoughts on which one is more important for people? Like, I'll hear you guys' thoughts first, and then may or may not have stuff to add.
Okay, so for me personally, right? I think if you were to play a very standard style, uh, as a preface, right? This might or might not change when Rand comes out because his passive is very good against a, or not his passive, his new debuff Stigma, right? It's
Mm-hmm.
very good against like a Ravi type heroes where you see a lot of these heroes recently, like they come out that and they rely on stuff like healing plus some type of like self CR push, right? We've seen Fire Charlotte like that. We've seen APOC like that. Green Violet is another one that kind of operates on the same wavelength, right? Obviously, Rand's not gonna ever land on a Green Violet in his entire life, but you know, it's the same idea, right? Um, a lot of newer units, right, have just been able to cheat out like essentially speed stat and HP stat by somehow either building to heal themselves or building to get pushed up a lot.
Mm-hmm.
So I think having like the possibility of having stigma in the game definitely lowers what I think an APOC Ravi's like stocks is, right?
Okay.
Before stigma comes out and is widely available on a lot of units and playstyles, I think APOC is better than like Bellion, like as a guarantee value, right? Obviously, if you're like waifu gaming or you just want to pull Bellion, like I think you should definitely do what you want.
Okay.
But in a standard playstyle, right? I would say Bellion, unless you go injury, has too many weaker matchups, right? Um, APOC is very strong both on speed set and on counter set, right? I think both ways are viable. And into Cleave, right? She's very hard to kill, right? And the craziest part about APOC Ravi is that as a single target nuker, when you kill someone, not only does she like just bonk someone to next Tuesday, right? She revives a ally too, and that is just so much tempo. It's a straight up 1 for 2, right? On such a tanky unit. So APOC Ravi gets my vote on who's the more valuable unit. But
Okay.
if Stigma comes out, right, there's a very good chance APOC loses a bit of her power.
Okay. What about the rest of you two?
I feel that A Ravi and Bellion have like different uses. Um, different play styles you would use them, different basically like strengths and weaknesses.
Mm.
But Generally, as Valk mentioned, I would also go a Ravi, just because she seems more of a scary unit, both to go against Bruiser and Cleave draft.
Okay.
Going back to my, match history, like I said, Bellian's not really a threat to me, but a Ravi is. Whether I'm going Bruiser or Cleave, she's scary no matter what, especially because of like the self-CR push,
Mm-hmm.
also because of how tanky she is, and the fact that she can revive somebody is a lot of value, because if she revives the right unit, that can be game changing. Whereas Bellian, she's just kind of sitting there and you're hoping to either counter or get those Elbrus procs, which is really RNG, and then she just
Mm-hmm.
kind of sits there, and you're expecting her to do something, but the most you can get out of her basically is to just stop soul burns.
Mm.
That's about it. Other than that, I feel that a Ravi brings a lot more value in other places.
Okay. Syllara?
Yeah. I don't know why you guys are trying to decide between the two units, right? Obviously, you need both. That's you can't argue with that. Like they're both amazing units,
Okay, it's
and
true.
right, either or you're gonna lose. So I think the biggest change is gonna happen is right now we have this AOL who's really oppressive on the meta, and most people's solution is just pre-ban.
Yeah.
But now you have another unit coming out who does basically the same thing. First term, shuts down everything, and give your entire team defense break and stigma. And if you look at that, units with a slower playstyle, all the healers, all the tanks, they're basically in trouble because you have one pre-ban. You can pre-ban AOL, but you cannot pre-ban RAN. I think the meta is going to switch back to a little bit more aggressive. And
Okay.
even right now, the A Ravi, the bill is gonna change. I think a lot of people are gonna go back to what's that artifact? The meteor artifact, where once a unit dies, you
Azure
get pushed
comment?
up. Yeah, I think with rank coming out, there's no way you can sit there and try to tank the defense break. You're just gonna lose.
Okay.
You
So
know. So
I can't disagree that you do need both. I think this was more for the people who can only afford
yeah,
to get one. Um,
I would say Bellion. I would say you get Bellion
okay.
because you need Soul to actually use Ran
Mm,
successfully. And Bellion shuts down the Soul play. It just opens up a lot of stuff. Like if you think about your account on the resource efficiency side of things, Arena is probably one of the biggest Skystone resource you're gonna get.
mm.
Having Bellion on your defense team will basically give you extra 200 Skystone every single week. To me, that's better than an A Robbie.
Okay.
Oh,
So
that's a really interesting take. Yeah.
yeah, there's there's a lot of things about this because one of the things that I was thinking about because the reason I brought this up was because I had a question about this on my stream, and the way I looked at it was, A Ravi's not like a new unit. We've seen her for a long time, and when she first came out, she was okay, and then she got buffed and whatnot, and then she was very good for a while. But then A Ravi was one of those units that I feel like has always kind of fallen in and out of the meta, and I value Bellian more because of the fact that I feel like she's always a useful unit to have, and you can always kind of make use of her. While if A Ravi ever falls out of the meta in RTA, then you're gonna have a unit you're not really gonna use as much again. So it's like an in and out kind of thing. So yeah, I do value Bellian more. Also, not to mention the arena factor. The only other area that A Ravi I would think is probably useful is like Guild Wars. She can probably be really useful there, regardless of what situation and what meta it is. There's always some sort of defense that you can probably like plow through with A Ravi. But yeah, it was just a question more for the people who are kind of stuck on the fence, right? They're like, I'm at pity or something, and they're like, oh, do I go for Bellian or do I go for A Ravi, who like everyone is saying is super good right now, right? Like there are people who can only grab one or the other unless they luck sack really hard. So
Yeah. I think New actually brought up a really good point in chat, right? I think it was New or Jenna, right? I think what they said was if you're trying to go for power now, a Ravi is blatantly the stronger pick. But going forward, right, Bellian is pretty future proof, right? Because anytime somebody's drafting mages into you, you sense a disturbance in the force. You're like, I'm gonna slam that Bellian.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah, that's the thing. Like, right? That's where I think I value her more than a Ravi in that sense.
Wait,
right?
so you're saying she's good into maid?
No, mages. He said mages.
Oh, mages. Okay. I
Yeah,
thought you
yeah,
said
yeah.
maid.
Yeah. I don't think she's particularly bad into maid, right? Because depending on what the carries are behind the maid, right? You can just strip the attack up, you can strip the res, right?
Mhm.
Maid
Yeah.
essentially has like 5 dead turns.
And I think also maid, like, she's okay against maid also because sometimes I've drafted her into maid, and I think people are used to soul burning maid to get the extra early revive or the extra like stun into a combat readiness boost, but then people don't have that anymore, which means like
That's true.
they can't do the sudden like soul burn, bonk you, and then boom, res, right? Like they don't have that combo anymore with some of their units.
Yep,
I'm gonna make this easier for everyone to decide between Bellian and a Ravi.
Okay.
A Ravi, if you're a Lolly ambassador. Bellian, if you're a Booba appreciator. I'm pretty sure you can pick one side or the other. There's no debating who's gonna be better. It's one or the other.
Oh no. Okay. You cannot be both, Jenna. That just means you're never mind. Anyways,
Look, if you want to be both, you better whip out that wallet, boy. That's all I can say for you.
No, Genazad. No. I'm pretty sure we all know in chat. We've all seen this. Genazad is more of a spez lover. He's neither Bellian or a Ravi side. We know that for sure. He has like what, 3 spezes? Yeah. Okay. Moving on actually, because we are on the topic. Let's talk about Ran here. Newest unit to come out, and you guys already kind of talked about him, but aside from that, what are your thoughts? What do you think about his stats, his skill kit, and stuff like that?
I'm super excited for Ran for
Is it just 'cause
many
he's hot?
reasons. Well, yes, he's a husbando, but as a fellow cleaver, I'm so happy that Smilegate is bringing back, or making sure Cleave doesn't completely die, because it feels like every patch they're trying to nerf Cleave, and then they're like, sorry, we keep trying to nerf Cleave. Here's a little Cleave unit on the plate because we killed your Pavel Cleave, so here's a Ran. This will be better than Pavel, So I'm excited to use him as an opener, as a speed contester. The fact that he, does the AoE defense break and does the stigma thing. He gives himself skill null, attack buff, whole team-wide immunity. That's a lot of value. He's basically almost like a bizarre Elfelt put together, but then scary because
he's faster.
He's faster, and he has that speed scaling damage, which is also nice. And then we just like husbandos, so the fact that he's a husbando is just the cherry on top.
Okay.
Man.
Yeah. What about you, Syllara, Valk? What do you guys think?
I think he's gonna be one of the most powerful units for quite a long time. I think we haven't had a unit that goes a strip into defense break, right? This is the first unit of its kind.
Yep.
It's gonna open up so many aggressive players, and it's not gonna make sense for people to run Soul Weavers anymore, since generally speaking, Soul Weavers are much slower. And they're just gonna sit there, and if there's a defense break on your Soul Weaver, they're basically dying. And plus, he can soul burn and get that ignore resistance. So I think he has insane amount of value, and it probably doesn't even hurt to run him on an effective build instead of a damage build. I think he's just that good.
Yeah.
Yep. So I actually did this cool exercise on my stream, right? We're just counting the amount of things this boy has going for him, right? Top speed in the game, right? That's 1. Self attack buff, that's 2. Team immunity, right? So he basically, you can use him to counter Politis, as we saw in the stream. That's 3.
Yeah.
He has double strip. That is 4. Number 5, he has defense break. Number 6, he has stigma, right? Which is half of a politis passive and half unhealable,
Mm-hmm.
right? Number 7, AoE damage, right? That combined with, stuff like his own attack up, sort of summer copium, right? You put crit on him, he's a CDOM activator. Number 7, right? Number 8, soul burn for unresistible. That's 8 things in conjunction going for his turn 1 initiate. I
Mm-hmm.
don't think we've ever seen a hero with that many things going, right?
Yeah.
I would say any 2 things or even 3, right? You pick from that list, you cut them from his kit, he is still a playable character in today's state of the game.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah,
I'm a little bit
I think
worried.
the chat mentioned too, right? You have 2 turns of proccing that greater attack buff. So he has a greater attack buff.
Oh yeah, that's true. Oh no.
Actually,
It's gonna
since
give him
we're
some.
oh
Yeah,
sorry.
so it procs turn 1, right? You get a greater attack buff. You give yourself attack buff, so you have 2 turns of greater attack buff.
Actually, I actually want to go over that. Some people were talking about some of the artifacts for him, and some people were saying they might opt out of using Gab. And some people were mentioning other artifacts like what is that stupid one called Alabastron or whatever for the
Mhm.
extra effectiveness. So I guess that like depends on playstyle, but like what artifacts would you guys run on him actually? Would you still run Gab? Or would you run something else? Yeah, like RNL, um, Alabastron or whatever that someone mentioned, you know. Would you
Mhm.
guys do? Or would you use his artifact actually?
I think he actually has a bunch of options depending on what you're going for and where your gear's at, right? Because
Mm-hmm.
I think one thing we can all agree on is that this unit should mostly be played at top speed, right? So at top speed, right? Like it's going to be up to each person's gear to kind of enable what you can do, right? I know certain players out there at top speed, they may not have the DPS, right? So they might just go Silver Rain or Alabastron and just go effectiveness, give up the souls play, right? And
Mm-hmm.
just go for a defense breaker type opener with a CDOM activator,
Yeah.
right? Or like and like Pancake said earlier, we're not even going for the CDOM soulburn damage. We're just going for her to push the team, right? That's one way we can play her.
Mm-hmm.
But if you're well endowed with like speed DPS gear at like 320 speed, right? You're
Mm-hmm.
definitely going to think of a way to try to enable your soul plays, right? So you just go max damage, you're looking to soul burn, and you're just looking to, really mess up those turn 2 players.
One thing
So
that I don't think a lot of people mentioned, but when I first saw him, I was actually very happy because I'm sure everyone knows, but I use Summer Asaria quite a bit and I really like using her. And I was too lazy to build up ML Leo. And I feel like this actually, I might actually be very happy with using Ram with Summer Asaria because it can help enable her quite a bit. So I'm kind of happy with that.
Can you guys imagine what if somebody gets both RAN and AOL in the same draft, where the AOL is holding a book?
Oh, God. I already hate
Jesus.
AOL as is, so.
Imagine you get a whole team defense break and you can't do anything for a turn.
Yeah, I'm good. And you're gonna get silenced also? Oh my.
I'm the roll speed.
Yep.
Yeah, time to roll speed. I'm sorry. Aside from that, I cut you guys off, but yeah, like Fartpancakes, like Syllara, like, what artifacts would you guys use on?
That's actually a good question because there's a lot of viable artifacts that could make him good depending on your playstyle.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of people mentioned Silver Rain. Like, I feel like there's no thieves out there that can actually use Silver Rain except for him or Judith, like, or Ruzid.
Yep.
That's pretty much it. And then, we have Alexa's Basket for the Gab gamers out there. RNL would be pretty troll too if you go S2 into S3 into S1. That'd be pretty broken, like using Biken on RNL.
Yeah.
And his S1's pretty scary too because it's got the defense pen. And then I was thinking, like, what if you build him like super damage and you go, Wind Rider. If you kill somebody and he goes into stealth and he still has the skill null on top of him, he's kind of scary. And then with that defense pen S1, he can just keep bonking over and over, especially with the Wind Rider proc. So, because
Interesting thought.
because I'm running a damage Kisei. I understand a lot of people use blue Kisei as a speed DPS,
Yeah.
but I run her damage with Windrider, and she's really good for like cleaving tanks, especially with Windrider procs on Soulburn S1. So that concept could basically be transferred over to Ran if you build him damage as well. So that's a possibility for the people that don't roll speed out there.
Mm.
Or you could just, go Vildred's artifact, because his S3 is AoE anyway.
Mm-hmm.
And then if you build damage, kill somebody, push up your team.
Yeah.
I think it's probably possible to not run him at 300 speed. What if you have a slower team, right? And then you build him kind of tanky, high damage, also high effectiveness. You tank up, you protect him. He goes and uses S3. Your entire enemy team has defense break, and then your DPS coming up next.
Oh.
Do you really need him fast? Do you really need him fast?
I guess it is a possibility. Like we were talking about how just earlier you guys were mentioning how he's very versatile because of how much stuff he has in his kit, right? So it is a possibility, I think, that if you build him a bit tankier and you play like you run someone to protect, some of your units, right? And whether it's Ruel or like Trozet or something else, might be a possibility. There is a chance, but I think the one thing I'm worried about is we do have some really hard-hitting, faster units. I'm just wondering if you can build them tanky enough, since he is a thief with squishier stats, to actually survive those units. Makes me wonder.
I mean, people are running Luna just fine, right? Because he's kind of like a throwaway unit. Once he takes his turn, it's okay if he dies. So you can enable him with May Chloe. You can enable him with Emilia, and I think he'll work just fine, even without going 300 speed, as long as you're drafting properly.
Okay, I see. Yeah, that could actually be a possibility. Like, you might pick him as like a later pick instead of an early pick unit, and you pick him as like your 4th or 5th last pick as like a damage dealer instead if you don't have the speed.
Yeah, because I've come across where a lot of us build Byceria quite fast, and then there are people who build Byceria 200 speed, tons of damage, and they're just waiting for your May, your whoever's to do their buff, and then they're just gonna nuke and strip everything. I think he can be used in a similar fashion.
Okay, I see. Yeah, it could be possible. He might be a little bit more difficult because I use Berseria the way you mentioned, and the only reason I'm okay with that is because she has her immortality as like a safety net. So like, unless they have like a strip damage dealer whammy like combo, like it's very difficult for them to usually like just straight up get rid of my Berseria. So.
Yeah,
But, yeah,
I
that
think
is
I'm
true.
a little bit more biased because my speed gear is quite good. So when I'm playing, hardly anybody speed contests me.
Oh, okay, I see. Yeah, some people aren't blessed with speed, unfortunately, but like Valk kind of seems like. As he mentioned, his speed gear is not up there yet, he said. But yeah, that could be a possibility, I think, actually. Okay.
Yeah, I think there's some like pretty interesting drafts you could potentially pull off. Not to dox anyone, but somebody has a slower Pavel draft that they play with a Flan, and they kind of been terrorizing Legend with it, with like a 90%-ish win rate, right? I think like if you were to swap out that Pavel within the same comp, right, where you just go for a higher damage on your unit, on your Rand, right? I think that is absolutely viable. But I think that is something we're going to have to see when his multipliers come out later tonight, I think.
Interesting. Okay. We'll have to see what happens there, because yeah, I think Ran is gonna be it'll be a fun unit to have. I'm excited. We haven't seen like a kind of like a Cleave unit being released in the recent while, so kind of happy about that. All right.
For the people that don't like RB, by the way, he could be a potential RB counter because he gives himself a skill null. So you kill the RB first, Then he comes
Oh,
back, and
yeah.
then you just kill him again.
Yeah, and also team-wide immunity, so you don't care about the
Yeah,
blind.
exactly.
Yep.
True. I didn't really think about that actually. Yeah, that is also another possibility.
And then for the people that try to pull the T Surin to counter, you have the immunity, so unbuffable silence won't really matter either.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
The immunity is a big deal. Like he does damage and debuffs along with giving your team like a immunity safety net. I think that's a pretty big deal, yeah. Okay.
Mm-hmm. And I really like the fact that well, I wish the rest of his kit wasn't so strong, right? But I do like how in this like aggro matchup, right? Whether it's like a cleave versus anti-cleave or like cleave versus aggro, cleave versus cleave, he takes a lot of power away from Politis, which I think is a good move, but I think everything else is a little bit too strong.
Okay, I see, I
I'm
see.
I'm actually super excited about his debuff, the stigma. I think you guys, I think Sky King, you probably remember back in the day when people first started using Kurado, right? And he has that heal block mechanic.
Oh yeah, 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 yeah,
And,
yeah.
and you're trying to heal through somebody, you're like, oh my god, I'm not healing at all.
Yeah. It's been a while since we've had someone who well, I mean this is a new debuff also. I don't think no one else has stigma ever. It's a new one.
Yeah.
Well,
So
just Melanie? I think it was Melanie that has it too.
wait.
One of
Yep.
the 3-star units has stigma.
The
Wait,
fire,
really?
the fire 3-star. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, Melanie has it.
Oh my gosh, I totally forgot. I haven't
But she
looked at
doesn't
her
strip
yet.
though, right?
No, she doesn't strip as far
Yeah.
as I can remember.
Oh, okay. Oh, that's interesting. So it's not exactly a new one, but I guess this will be the first unit that will be utilizing it more aggressively on the enemy team. Yeah, the heal block is an interesting one. The heal block will be nice against A-Ravis or Sun, whatnot. I hate A-Ravi right now, sometimes. And Rem.
Yeah, a lot of bruisers right now, right, are definitely thriving off the fact that if you proc them, right, they'll heal,
Yeah.
they'll maybe counter, right, which gives them more heal, and then somehow there's a CR baked in there, right? Fire Charlotte, Rem, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I think on a wider scale, right, if you don't, put the stigma behind unresistible soul burn, double strip, I think it's quite powerful.
Yeah. Someone says counter MLDB ran. Is that viable?
Well, they
Honestly, anything counter MLDB is viable.
Wait,
There are people out there who play counter MLDB Green Vildred.
I think
He has a build.
Fartpancakes
He has a
disconnected for
built-in
a second.
penetration. Okay.
Hello, are you there?
He has a built-in penetration for S1, right?
yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, she's back. Yeah, he does. He has a built-in 20%?
Yeah.
Yeah, just
So
20%.
Yeah.
I think he could be hitting quite hard.
Okay.
I mean, people use counter AOL, right?
Well, AOL is a little bit
Yeah.
different. She, what's it called? She does the silence on her S1, pushback and silence or something. So that's more of like a CC unit, but yeah, okay.
But I think like the fact that we can talk about them with all of these builds, right? And we you can think about it for a second. You can be like, wait, that's not that bad, right? That speaks to the fact that like this is something I learned when I play League of Legends. When you realize you can play one hero in multiple ways and they all somehow work out, that might say something like this hero is kind of OP, right? And that's kind of the indicator I look at.
Fair. Okay.
Yeah, and I think his stats is not that bad, right? As a degen build.
I don't know if it's well. I mean, depends on your gear at this point. I think a lot of units can be degen build nowadays if you want them to be.
I know I caught it runs MLDB Kron, and it seems to really work for him.
Okay, Kotick also has insane gear quality though.
Yeah, I mean anything you run on degen, you need to have the gear quality to support it.
Yeah, that's for sure. Okay. Sorry, you also cut off there. Fartpancakes earlier. I don't know. Like I think you DC for a second. I saw you freeze mid sentence, and I was just like, oh, it's okay.
Are we good?
Yeah, I think you're good. You're good.
Oh, okay. I mean, I was only talking about how like the only thing Ran has going for him on counter MLDB is the defense pen S1, but I don't know. If you really want to turn everything into a degen build and you have the gear for it, then go for it. Because the game's RNG anyway, so might as well play the RNG game.
True. All right.
Actual.
Okay, so we'll move on. And so tonight, the third topic we have here is a bit of a different one, chat. As you see, there is a survey in chat there. And I'll let the people these three people talk about it as they're all part of this. And I found this idea pretty interesting, so I'll be helping out here and there with this. Right now, Epic 7 doesn't have a crazy competitive scene. We have some bits here and there. There are some people here and there. But this is another way, I guess, to try to bring up the competitive scene a little bit more and get more people into RTA, whether you're new or if you're, an older player. And so I'll let them talk about it first. So you guys can go ahead.
Sounds good. And also, Gabe, are you able to get access to the video and maybe play the trailer a little bit?
Oh, sure, yeah, I can do that. I can play it afterwards
Yeah.
once you guys are done talking then.
Okay, sounds good. So before I go into detail on talking about the project, this is just a little bit of a background story of how it came together. You guys remember there was a period of time, there's like a content drought, and it's a little bit before Emilia and Rem's release, where everybody is basically doing nothing and waiting for Seaside by Syria, right? So around that time, I have a guildie. His name's Derby. We start randomly just chatting, and then he started telling me about how him being a competitive Yu-Gi-Oh player, and there's this website that talks about the game at a competitive level, and then it also organizes these local tournaments. And people are always super hype about their weekly blog and insight into the current meta. Now, if you look at E7, on the other hand, if you want information, you're basically stuck, right? Do you guys know any website out there that talk about competitive content? I don't think so. There's mainly a lot of website that has a lot of tools that doesn't really teach you how to become really, really good at the game at a competitive level. So this is why I see a lot of newer players false praise to things like the SSS tier list. Don't you guys agree? And it's kind of scary. People can go and look at a tier list, look at a unit. It's like SSS tier. It just makes you want to play that unit. But sometimes it's not always the best decision. So I'm gonna be honest. E7 is a very, very easy game to play, but at the same time, it's very, very hard to be very, very good at. And there's just so much to learn, but I sum it up to mainly 4 things, which I want to kind of talk a little bit about, just so you guys have an idea that it is a different world when you want to be competitive. There's a lot of depth of knowledge out there. The first thing that I want to bring up is the management of your resources. Just this topic alone will separate the good player from the great players. If you think about it, in the last 2 years, the game's been up. You could have gotten over 100,000 Skystones for free. And if you're like, wow, 100K Skystone over 2 years, that's a lot of Skystones. And this is how I did the math. If you look at it, if you do your arena, you do your daily, you should be collecting about 1,000 Skystone per week, correct? And there's about 52 weeks in a year. So you're getting 52 weeks of 1K Skystone. That's 50,000 Skystones per year. And now if you've been playing the game for 2 years, that's 100,000 Skystone that you've collected over the 2 years you're playing the game. Now, if you take that 100,000 Skystone and we're using half of that for farming hunts, you're looking at 50,000 Skystone goes into hunts. That's 3 million stamina, 150,000 Vibrant runs, 200,000 claws, and out of the 200,000 claws, you're gonna get on average anywhere from 10 to 15 pieces of 20 speed gear. That's a lot of speed gears. 10 to 15 pieces, 20 speed gear. That means you should have, if you've been playing for 2 years, you should have 2 units over 300 speed. I want you to let that sink in for a bit. If you play the game properly, 2 years, you should have at least 2 units that's over 300 speed. And if you don't have 2 units over 300 speed, then I can tell you right now, you're not being efficient with your gear management. And of course, I'm excluding players like Iconic. You know, that guy's just crazy. Every time he sees a speed gear, he just deletes it. I don't know how he does it, but that's basically what he does.
True. He literally throws speed gear out the window. He's like, speed? Nope.
Yeah, he'll delete it, you know, on stream. I'm like, what the hell, you know? And you know, I mean, Fartpancake can probably chime in a little bit on how to be, you know, effective on managing resources, right?
Yeah, I agree with the whole Skystone thing. Like, I've done a lot of account reviews on my stream, and the thing I notice about a lot of these players that struggle and need account reviews are the ones that don't know how to be efficient with their resources. A lot of them don't know about things that you should be trying to pick up on a daily basis, on a weekly basis, and even a monthly basis. Like, for example, daily, people aren't going to the Goblin Merchant or visiting Hoochie on a weekly basis. People are like, should I pick up Skystones? Should I pick up Mystics? I don't know which one's better. And then people get cucked by picking up the Mystics and they miss out on all the value from the Skystones. And then even on top of that, are they visiting Labyrinth weekly to pick up the epic artifact charms? Are they doing Hell Raid monthly to pick up that free immunity gear to start getting their units on immunity? Things like that. There's a lot of things that the game doesn't tell you to be efficient and making sure you're getting all the resources you can for free-to-play players, because there's like a lot of whales in this game that can still be bad, and then a lot of completely free-to-play players that are really good because they're really good at resource management.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and the second thing is crafting gear, right? A lot of people say, oh, it's RNG, I'm not getting speed gear. And now those same player, they're also saying, okay, flat gears are bad. I'm not keeping any of my flat gears. You know, there are people who don't keep their flat gears. And if you don't keep your flat gear, you're actually missing out on 50% of the good gears out there. 50%, that's a lot of gears. You know, and those same people also doesn't know how to calculate gear scores. And that means they don't really understand the value of equipment. And sometimes just by having, let's say if you look at the right side, the accessory and stuff, if you have flat gears, then you're basically open up to twice as many gears when you're farming.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and another point is, I'm gonna say that, let's see, like how I learn how to, you know, really be efficient with these gear crafting is I learned from some of the best players. You know, I have a Discord where I talk to a lot of legend player, and one of the players that always talk about gear and how to acquire gear is Aetherbolt. You guys can pick his brain. He always teach me, okay, just go convert only on the right side. You should only craft on the left side. You get really good gear on the left side, then you can use like blue gear on the right side, and your unit will still come out good. And you should only be converting for boots initially because anybody can use speed boots main stats. And I'm following that advice for a very, very long time. And the conclusion that I come up with is metas are temporary, but your gears are forever. So it's really important for you to be really good at crafting gear because the meta will always shift and then new unit will always come. And I know for a fact that I'm a gear carry player, and might sound silly, but I'm pretty proud of it. You know, it lets me enjoy the game better. I just love to draft units like an idiot and still win because, you know, flexing gear is fun. And the third point is understanding what's going on with the meta plays. I'm talking about all of these things I'm talking about are the contents people could have access to if there's a place where they can learn, right? Understanding what's going on with the meta, learn what unit to build and what unit to avoid building. Because there's a lot of like MLN text out there, you know? A lot of people telling you to build units like Shu. A lot of people telling you to build unit like Kalrek, ML Kalrek, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And if you ever, make it easy. If you have a 30k HP Aprox Ravi, you are a victim of an MLM.
Oh, no.
why I say that is I want to elaborate a little bit more, right? Like you go into arena, you go into guild war, and you always once in a while you come across these 30k Aravi with proof of valor, and you're just minding your own business. You're like, okay, there's a Aravi on the enemy team. Let me just take my penetration LQC, and I'm gonna one shot that Aravi and just clean up afterwards. So you load into the game, you're like, Emilia, let's buff LQC. You go for the S3, and then you realize it's a 30k Aravi with a pool of valor. And you fail the cleave and you lose that game. You're like, holy, that is awesome. Let me go build myself a 30k Aravi. You know? And that's how people fall victim to the MLM. They're gonna build a 30k Aravi, they're gonna queue up to an RTA match, and then they realize, oh my god, I'm not doing anything with this Aravi. I'm basically playing 3v4. So we wanna have an area where we're gonna talk about all these MLM techs so people can best avoid them, save their resources, and not do something like that. And then the last one is probably the hardest topic in all of E7, which is basically comes to drafting. You know, it changes all the time, especially the closer we get to the end of the season, the more changes that's going to happen. This is not something that anybody can master without a lot of practice and experiencing it firsthand. It's kind of like surfing. When you go surfing, the waves are kind of like the meta. It's always changing, and you have to know how to ride the wave properly. A lot of people complain, hey, AOL is bad. You know, all these new unit getting introduced, remove mechanic, they're really bad. But if you learn how to ride the wave, you can kind of expect people are going to be picking those units. And if you have the right solution to deal with them, you're going to have a good time because they're predictable. And so these 4 points basically help you understand, hey, you know, this game is kind of intensive. There are a lot of these things. Because of these things, people can spend hundreds and thousands of dollars every single month and they can get nowhere. And that's the reason we want to create like a little hub, a little platform where all of us can get together and put these competitive content together and just enjoy the game better. And so now I want to bring up two of the other team members who's going to share a little bit about their role on the project side. We have Valk, who's in charge, who's our content manager. He has a lot of experience with the writing blog type content and can help us become the one-stop shop for competitive content. So Valk, you want to talk a little bit about what you're in charge of and what you're planning to do?
Yeah. So, for those of you guys who know, right, I used to write for a different gacha game website, and my background comes from writing a lot of guides when I was growing up. So, I like writing guides, right? And as you guys heard earlier, right, you know, there are a lot of like websites out there, you know, with hero info. A lot of times they might or might not be curated by top players, right, or even by players that are good, right? You know, no disrespect to anybody, right? People who are out there trying to put out content, it's not easy work, right? But the idea and why, you know, I talked to Sturby and why I was so passionate in, you know, wanting to see this project like come to life is like I want to be in a community where without, you know, putting any names out there, right? I think our entire community is like our entire staff team is Emperor Plus, right? So I would really love to be a part of this team because, you know, we get together, you know, a bunch of good players, we can have discussions, we can have like it's like our own think tank, right? And we can come up with like builds, guides, and you know, and even drafts, right? Like between high-end players, and as you guys saw earlier, right? Recently I've been looking into, you know, recording my games for stats, right? So that is like the type of content I want to put forward, right? Going forward, I want to have hero guides as well as, you know, having like different meta report infographics, right? Just like content that, you know, comes from either numbers or like anecdotally from like a legend player, right? And then that type of content is kind of what I want a lot of players to kind of reference going forward for their own gameplay, right? So we're gonna have like a regular schedule pushing out, um, meta reports, right? We'll have infographics, right? Sometimes it'll be on our official website. Sometimes it'll be posted in the Discord, right? We'll have different draft guides for different play style, right? You want to learn how to play, Cleave? I'll do an interview with Sturby, right? You want to know how to play standard, right? I'll write a guide myself. You want to know how to play tank and spank? You just want to tank down, right? We'll have Call write something, right? Call is a part of the team. So we have a good variety of Emperor and Legend players, outputting content. And I truly believe like this is something that we can give good information to the players, and over time, right, the community just becomes more and more competitive with this, you know, valuable information from all of these high-end players.
Yeah, and
Mhm.
we also have, part of the team. We have Health Mage, we have Aether Bowls, we have players like Insomnia, who's really good at coming up with new strategies.
Yeah, so okay,
Yeah.
okay. If we're okay with talking about the team, like I'm super excited to work with this team
Yeah,
because
I
like
mean, we have like a lot of superstar, but I think we'll keep it kind of light. We don't want to take out too much time, and then we have our tournament manager,
mhm.
Fartpancake. She's also a streamer with tons of experience hosting tournaments and events. She's probably one of the very few female players who plays the game at a competitive level. I want to bring her in to talk a little bit more on the tournament side.
Okay, so E7 Arena wants to make the competitive scene bigger because, as you all have seen, we've had E7 do the World Championship Series, and that was super hype for a lot of people. I remember that, that one season, everyone was super sweaty and try-harding to be able to make it into that championship series, and the fact that we had something like that was really exciting, and it would be really cool if we could get more of that in the E7 community. So, what E7 Arena wants to do is be able to host more tournaments, and that's what we plan to do as part of this project. Right now, we have in the works 4 different tournaments that we want to be running on a frequent basis. So we have the Arena Weeklies, we have Arena Freaklies, we have giveaways, and the Arena Championship Series. So the way it works is that Arena Weekly is basically you buy a ticket entry, and all the money that's gained from the ticket entries is going to be the entire prize pool. So we're not making money from it. It's just going back to the players. And then the Arena Freaklies, that's more of like a community thing. Everybody is welcome to join as part of that tournament. All you have to do is be a part of the Discord. Then we have the giveaway tournaments, and that's gonna be for like the Twitch subscribers for when E7 Arena runs their Twitch streams. We're gonna be streaming all our tournaments, and then later on, once like more established and we have the way we want to set up our tournaments and stuff, we're gonna be running the Arena Championship Series, which is gonna be comprised of like all the best players that we keep track of over time. So basically, as everyone participates in our Arena Freaklies and Weeklies and giveaways, they gain these points. We keep track of the points they get, and then probably like once every few months or something, we're gonna tally up all the best players, and then they're gonna compete in the Arena Championship Series, and that's gonna be a bigger prize pool. So basically, we want to run all these tournaments because we want people to be more excited and wanting to participate in tournaments. And the fact that we have different kinds of tournaments going or in the works, it will open up the opportunity for more players at different skill levels. Because right now, the tournaments that are out there are just gonna be like all the top legend players and maybe Emperor rank players. And then it kind of makes like everybody below Emperor feel like they're not competent enough, or they don't know how to they don't know how to improve or have any experience to learn more and get better and just have that experience. So that's why we want to be able to be inclusive for everybody and make sure everybody gets the opportunity to learn and grow and be able to experience a tournament setting.
Awesome. Thanks, Pancake. And I think the last portion is going to be me talking about a little bit of a sensitive topic. It's the coaching session. You know, we are going to have some coaching programs. And of course, we did get full Smougate approval before even started on our project. So we even have community managers sitting in our Discord. So when we have questions and when we have a problem on the compliance side, we talk to them. So everything we do is legal and under the guideline of Smougate. And now that out of the way, the first thing I want you to talk to you about is I do understand there are a lot of bad information out there when it comes to E7 in the competitive scene. You know, like a simple mistake like molaring the wrong unit is gonna set you back months at a time. And then there are things like summoning the wrong unit can potentially destroy your entire account. And I'm not kidding when I talk about choosing the wrong unit. Do you guys remember, Sky? Can you remember when we had the ML5 selector?
Yeah.
So during the time ML5 selector, a lot of people get to choose to trade in the Araminta. They get to trade in their ML ball for a new ML5 unit. And we actually have people that goes and trades their RB for ML Ara. And some of those players actually left the game for good. So it can potentially destroy your account if you're not making the right decision. I mean, those are just more on the extreme side. On the milder side is really just knowing when to skip a unit. It'll really help you progress the game a lot faster. And I know Smougate is constantly making changes, and we're constantly chasing all these meta waifus. So making the right decision can be very, very tough. Every unit looks good, all the abilities look good. And my goal on the coaching side is going to be very, very simple, right? It's going to focus on two type of players. For the beginners, I want you to really have a roadmap and strategy on help you reach your goal in the shortest amount of time possible. Whether it's the imper rank, or you just want to be efficient and save hundreds of dollars of resource every single month. That's something that just sitting down with somebody that what do you do your account will understand and help you with. I think Pancake can chime in on that a little bit.
So for a lot of people that watch my streams know that I was always a bruiser player, and even people like New, knows that I was a super noob at RTA because I am a fairly new player. I started playing last year, and I'm not a whale. I'm like low spender, but I was still able to climb to RTA, Emperor rank, positive win rate, by the way, being a cleaver and a bruiser at the same time. And the reason I was able to get to that point because I have Insomnia being able to coach me and teach me how to play RTA properly. And I knew about all the things on how to be efficient with the game already. I knew how to craft gears and what units to build, but my mind didn't know how to process, how to draft and ban and what teams have synergy together, things like that. And Insomnia, who I believe is like the best cleaver in E7, he is very, 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 what's the word? I guess genius, because he comes up with like a lot of his own strategies and is always trying to come up with new techs. And he's taught me a lot of his cleave comps, and I didn't think that I was capable of being a cleaver. I was always bruiser player until he came in and helped me, and he's like, all right, we're going to turn you into a cleaver. He took a look at all the units I had, all the gear I had, and then he's like, okay, we're going to turn you into a cleaver. So because of that, I'm where I am right now. So I can say for a fact that the coaches that E7 Arena has put together knows exactly what they're doing. They're doing a great job. And, for people that want to be like me or Insomnia, these coaches definitely know how to help you get there. So I got the coaching. It's worked for me. if anyone out there is struggling on doing well in RTA, check out E7 Arena's coaches.
Yeah, and now I think Pancake is getting more. So I talked about for the beginner players, what we want to do is give them a roadmap, and for competitive players like Fartpancake who want to just play the game at a higher level, I want you to remember that the last time we had the World Championship for the official Epic 7 tournament, the 30,000 tournament, the person that won actually has 4 coaches backseating and helping him. He actually pays a salary for 4 coaches to go in, break down his enemy builds, all the speed tuning in the draft, and teaches him how to play against those enemy players with a different speed tuning. So I think it makes sense if you're competitive. It makes sense for you to look at game more on a statistic point of view. And we have players like Aether Bulge, and Elf Mage, and like Pancake mentioned, Insomnia, always come up with unique strategies. So instead of like us trying to spend hundreds of hours to understand the meta, to develop our own team comp, having a coach really sit behind you just for a little bit, just get yourself caught up with the meta, build teams that will dominate the current ladder. It just makes sense instead of me spending, like, for example, if I'm going to be a content creator, it doesn't make sense for me to spend hundreds of hours learning how to edit video when somebody like an expert can whip it up in 10 minutes. I can use my time better. So to close out on the E7 Arena topic, our official launch for this competitive website is set to near the end of October. So we have one last thing we got to finalize is basically our tournament formats. And you can check us out at e7arena.com. There's going to be a video. I think Sky King can play after.
Yep.
And please help us, fill out the survey. Tell us what content you guys like to see, what information is relevant to you. And at our launch day, we're going to do a raffle for everybody that help us complete the survey. And we're going to give out, free coaching sessions, tournament tickets, and everything that basically get the momentum going, get things started. And I hope together, me and the rest of the team, the E7 Arena team, can create a new home for the competitive community. I'm passing it back to you, Gabe.
Thank you. So, yeah, big reason why I actually wanted this on the podcast, or I was okay with this, is I think this is nice that a lot of people are coming together for this. I think Epic 7 definitely needs something like this, where a bunch of creators will eventually come together. As you guys know, one person hosting a tournament is a lot more tiring than multiple people hosting many tournaments together on the same platform. So there's going to be more and more tournaments, whether it's for new players, veterans, and whatnot. I think that's going to be a really nice change, because I know there's a lot of new players who ask like, oh, are you going to be running a newbie friendly tournament again, or something like that, which I think having that with E7 Arena there will be really nice. And hopefully we see that grow eventually to the point where we'll have constant tournaments, like multiple tournaments a week, and content from Valk for new players, veteran players, meta stuff. So it's kind of like a blog you follow constantly, just to like keep up with the game. Okay, and with that said, I'll show you guys the video that they have for their for the trailer here, and then I'll end off the podcast after that. So let me go over there here. You guys can watch this.
No sound.
No sound.
Oh.
Oh, never mind. Just sound.
Okay.
Oh wait, maybe there is. Okay, never mind.
right. So that was the trailer there. Hopefully you guys, join it up, grow the community there. And yeah. No, the E7 company is not attached to this at all. This is purely a content creator, player driven platform. So this is all, like we'll talk to the community managers to ask for approval for stuff to, make sure this is okay for that. But this is all just, this is just like a bunch of content creators coming together to create a platform for the players. So yeah, with that said, thank you guys for joining the podcast tonight. As always, we'll end it off with feel free to plug in your socials, and we'll end it off there. Fartpancakes.
If you guys want to catch my streams, I'm on twitch.tv/fartpancakes.
Thank you.
If you guys want to catch me, you can catch me at twitch.tv/Valkyria with 1_. And then, I do a lot of RTA content as well as I do deep dives for new players.
Yeah, I think recently I've been hanging out a lot more at the E7 official Discord, So if you have any questions, feel free to DM me there.
Thank you. And yeah, with that said, hopefully you guys enjoyed this podcast. Peace out. See you guys next time.
Thanks for having us.